Hello, everyone, and welcome again to Leaders Uncut. It's so great to have you here again. And if it's your first time attending our show here, our channel, welcome. We are really happy to have you here. And what I do here on Leaders Uncut, I host incredible speakers, leaders, business entrepreneurs who share with us what they're currently doing with their companies and how they are embracing and tackling technologies and how they are preparing us for the future. And today we have an incredible person that I admire so much, and her name is Gaye Tomlinson. And Gaye is the founder and CEO of Ardent Energy Solutions. Hi, Gaye. How are you doing today?
I am good, Catherine. How are you?
I'm doing great. So I can't wait for you to give us a little bit of your background and tell us what you are doing with Ardent Energy Solutions. I know you're working at helping companies, helping people reduce their energy bills, also simplify and reduce their carbon footprint. This is so critical nowadays. So I'm going to hand it over to you if you want to give us a little bit of your background and what you are focusing on right now with your company.
Sure. I was actually born and raised in Turkey, but I've been living here for over 25 years. And I am an engineer by trade. I worked in biotechnology in a company that's very well known now, Novo Nordisk, which makes Ozempic. Now they're very popular. It's always been a great company. After I moved to the US, though, I worked in the field a little bit, and then I got my MBA from Cornell. And then at the time, my husband said, energy is going to be a problem. It's coming from unsustainable resources, and all these EV vehicles are going to come on board. There has to be a way to provide this power, but what is that? And this was 2007.
Mm.
He was an extreme visionary. He's always been a visionary. And so he's a vision guy. I'm the doer lady. I'm like, oh, business opportunity. And he said, maybe we should do solar. I'm like, okay, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I just didn't know how to begin it. And this kind of created us the opportunity. California at the time had just launched this million solar roof program. I don't know if people even remember this, but Arnold Schwarzenegger just decided that he was going to give rebates for people to put solar up.
Yes.
And so we're like, oh, good, California is doing something about it. And then the federal government said, we're going to give tax credit up to so much money. So go put solar up. So we were living in New York, and now we had a little baby, and we moved back to California because my husband is from California. And we handed the baby to the grandma and said, we're going to build a business. And literally, that's how we started.
Wow.
2008.
Incredible story. I love stories like that when you have a vision, because you have to be a visionary, but you also have the courage to take action on it, because so many people have great ideas, but it's another thing to actually do it.
I think that was the great combo that we had. He had the vision, he could see so far out, he still does. And I think I just am so driven to making things happen that I don't really necessarily get discouraged by the obstacles. I like to find a way to make it happen if it makes sense to me.
Yeah, well, you are an entrepreneur at heart. That's the exact description of an entrepreneur. So kudos to you. So what you do, Gabe, with your company, you really provide clean energy asset management, which is so critical, because I know many businesses have incorporated solar systems to provide energy, but is it functioning at their peak? You don't know that. So that is something that you assist them in evaluating. Are my systems optimized? How can I reduce even more of my energy footprint? Am I correct?
Yeah, so just a quick segue into Ardent. We've done actually 17 years of, or 16 years of solar development. We've done several megawatts of solar projects across the states, some interstates, and we did a lot of energy efficiency lead projects. And just recently, a few months ago, we segued into Ardent, which is the actually natural progression of our company into consulting. Because we felt like there's so much know-how that we built, there's so much experience, and now the industry is in a very different state. When we first started,
Yeah.
it was literally crawling, it was just starting off. We were definitely dealing with the early adopters as clients. Now it's becoming a mature industry. And so when we started the consulting, now that there are all these solar assets that a lot of companies have, and not just California now, it's everywhere. And I think it's one of those things that people put them on the roof and they forget their existence. But it is actually the number one, the two reasons why you're installing solar is either you're trying to generate a great ROI, it's a revenue generating asset. And the second thing is you are trying to do something with your carbon footprint.
Yeah.
Those two can only happen if the system is performing properly.
Yeah.
But when it's forgotten, there are some, it's a very low maintenance product, honestly. But people just literally forget that it exists. It's like building the walls. The walls exist, and then we've walls. And then the systems start underperforming. Could be dirt, could be minor technological issues that nobody is aware. And all of a sudden, these systems are orphaned. What happens is you are actually not meeting your goal. You're not meeting your financial goal. You're not meeting your carbon footprint goal. And you're leaving a lot of money on the table just because you are not aware. It's not managed. That asset needs to be managed. I think that's where we felt like this is where our value now. We don't need to develop projects. There are a lot of people who is doing that. But there's not enough people who understand the solar. And we're going to start getting into other clean energies as well as we do, because we've been doing this for so long. They don't even know what to look for. Companies will say, oh, we are doing this internally. But if you really ask them what they're doing, they're not doing what they're supposed to, because they don't know what to look for.
Yes, that's so true. But I can see also when you work with solar systems professionals, installators, companies that actually install those large solar systems all over the country, all over the world, actually. You must be an incredible partner for them, because it's an added revenue, isn't it?
It would be added revenue just because we prevent the loss.
Yes.
I think there are a lot of the times there's so much leakage of money in the ways I call them the hidden. Back in the day when we were doing energy efficiency, it was called the vampires of power. So there are vampires of your cash, and energy is definitely one of them, because we also do utility rate analysis. A lot of the times people don't notice that they are paying in the wrong rate schedule, because the utilities have so many different rate schedules. So when they're paying for electricity, they were using a rate schedule that was relevant maybe 20 years ago, but their processes changed. The utility brought in new rates. Nobody is aware. Nobody cares. Utility won't come back to you and say, hey, by the way, you're paying so much. Why don't I give you the rate schedule, right?
Yes.
So there are the little things that no one knows that actually brings so much value.
Oh yeah, and especially nowadays, everything has become so expensive. I mean, it's time for companies to look at all those details where they can save a huge amounts of money every month, for sure.
And it's a low-hanging fruit that no one's even aware.
Yeah, I think that's great to be aware of it. I think that's really important, and I'm glad we're talking about this with this podcast. So, what makes you different? Because there are lots of people, of course, involved in the solar business, but you, Gail, and your company, Ardent Energy Solutions, what is your biggest unique selling proposition?
Honestly, I will say it's definitely our real life experience, because there are consulting companies out there, they're doing a great job, but I call them the software smarts. Everybody, I mean, us too, don't get me wrong, everybody feeds the data into a software, and the software spits out analysis. Oh, you're using this much power for this. This is your rate schedule. This is how much you're spending. This is how much you can offset. But then when you are just a software smart, you don't know the real experience. And that's where we come in play, because we've done these projects for so long. We monitored these projects. There is the ideal case, ideal scenario, and there's a reality. It's almost like shopping for clothes on Amazon. You see it on the model, it looks great. And then putting it on yourself, it's like, oh, it's a whole different thing. But you don't look at yourself in the mirror, so you have no idea. You think like you look like the model. So we do the reality check. Maybe that's not the best fit for you. And we are very honest about it. And Catherine, I think that's what I also love about the consulting part of it. Our job is to be an advocate for the client. We are there to watch for their benefit. We know we come from a place of knowing. We're not coming from a place of ideally guessing.
Mm. And that's so
And
important. I mean, there's nothing like experience. Seriously, that's
it
you
is,
can you can read as much as you want, but when you have that experience and you know all the hurdles that you had to overcome, I mean, this is the best way to learn, and that's something you can bring to the plate when you
yes,
work with those professionals. It's critical.
yes, absolutely. And I think, um, and we do a lot of RFP writing. We do we sit through the awarding process. So we know how to gauge even the vendors. We recommend vendors, but we also know what to ask to the vendors. We know what to look for in a proposal
Yeah,
because proposals come in very differently. I mean, everybody thinks, oh, it's just a proposal. I'll look at this, I'll look at that, I'll find the
yeah,
cheapest one. It doesn't work with that. With
yeah.
solar, there's so many numbers. It can get confusing, even for the most sophisticated companies, because that's not their expertise.
Well, it is, and that evolves too. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about innovations because we live in a time where we have to innovate. We
Mhm.
have to optimize. We have to think a little bit differently, right? And that's a challenge. It's hard. So, what type of innovations have you experienced yourself in the past? But what do you see coming, and where do you see the world going as far as embracing solar technology is concerned?
I think I'll talk about general energy in general because what we've experienced over the last 17, 18 years is the huge offtake of clean energy.
Mm,
Because, yes, the EV is taking the world and there are all these other needs. Now we're talking about data centers, like electric vehicles is nothing now when it's compared to what data centers might need.
yeah, yeah.
And those are going to be humongous needs of power if they really go through with those projects. And what I see actually in the pipelines is not only the advancements that comes within the clean energy, like the solar, wind, or energy storage, but also different kinds of energy manufacturing, like generation that
Mm,
has never been spoken about yet. They are still in the R&D process that we were privy to see. And as consultants, again, in Ardent, we see our job to be 5 steps ahead of the clients so we know what's in the pipeline in order to give them the best solutions,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
We don't want to pigeonhole them in something that might be really not that great 3 years down the road because there might be this other amazing technology coming on board that might be much more beneficial for them. It's my job to be able to say, hold up, and this is how much you're going to lose by not doing solar today, but this is how much you're going to gain by waiting for 3 years because this other thing is coming up. So I'm very excited about these new technologies, and I'm not in a position to explain what they are because most of them are just still in the R&D process and there are NADs and all these things in place. But I look at energy as a general, there are just a lot of great things coming up.
Well, I
And
think so too. And we have so much technology coming our way. I always mention quantum computing that is going to change the way we do everything. That's coming our way too, and that's going to speed up also the embracing of all those new techs. Is all going to come together. So I think we live in fascinating times, personally. Is your marketing making an impact? Are you reaching the right audience? Is your messaging truly connecting? Are you maximizing your return on investment? At Slice Marketing, we use AI-powered insights to fine-tune your targeting, optimize your messaging, design high-converting websites, and craft content that inspires, entertains, and educates, all to amplify your brand's impact. Sometimes a small adjustment can create big results. Let's chat, no strings attached. Email us at catherine.oaks@slicemarketing.com or visit our website.
I so agree with you. Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
true.
So, what specific challenges have you faced in scaling or expanding your business?
I will say that I think the biggest challenge right now is a change in the administration and the very different attitude towards sustainability, clean energy,
Yeah.
and in addition to trying to shrink the government's size a little bit with the
Mm,
Doge. Um, I think one of the biggest problems of United States and the clean energy sector has always been that it was too tied to the federal funding in some ways. There's all
mm,
tax credit or there's some grants but there's so much bureaucracy that requires a cost to be a bit more than other countries and all these other grants are needed to offset that bureaucracy.
mm.
So there is a bit of a like maybe we need to restructure the industry so we can be a little bit more nimble. There's definitely that opportunity right now, but yes, the volatility that the government's new approach that brought, I mean, there's a lot of volatility that came from it right
Yeah.
now in the industry. There's a lot of let's hold up and wait.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
waiting, and I completely understand. And it's our job to pivot and find another way to be valuable.
And that is right. That is a challenge for everyone right now. It creates anxiety, uncertainty. I mean, there's a restructuring, reorganization, but it can also be favorable eventually. This is why we all hope that things will be turning around and that will be opening up to new solutions and new possibilities. That's what we have to hope for.
Yeah, and I honestly believe that, and I've seen a lot of examples of that. Crisis is the time where all the new things happen.
Forces us to be creative. It really
Yeah,
does.
you have to be. Exactly. You cannot sit and wait and complain.
No. I mean, you can. Some people do, right?
True.
But that's, I don't think it's the best option because I mean, it's in these times of challenge that we are forced to reinvent ourselves. And I am an eternal optimist. I've always been, and I really believe that there's always something new to uncover that eventually will be beneficial. And now is the time to step away, to differentiate yourself. And I see that as an opportunity. And it looks like this is exactly what you are doing.
Yes, absolutely. I think when you come from a place of really caring, again, being the client's advocate with Ardent, um, I always try to think from their point of view. What do they need? Make them feel better because they still need to grow the companies. They still need to do what they have to do. Despite all these things, a lot of companies, I just heard actually a friend of mine works in a toy industry. They came to work on Friday and they didn't hear anything about anything, and all of a sudden 250 people were laid off.
Yeah.
Because they are buying their toys from China and there are tariffs and stuff. So
yeah.
But it's that time where we just have to sit down and say, how do we create value?
I think that's very important, and also develop a new perspective because I mean, speaking with people every single day, people from all industries, I have not met one single person that has not told me that he or she has been challenged.
Yeah.
We are all challenged right now, and I think it's a state that we have to accept, embrace, and move forward. And like everything else, this too shall pass.
Yeah, I mean, look at COVID.
Yeah.
What was that?
I know. What was COVID? We all had to change, we adapt and reinvent ourselves. So I think it's part of life. So let's talk about your top priorities for the next 2 to 3 years, and if you have any key milestones or initiatives that you're really excited about.
I think what you mentioned, asset management, I think that's huge because there are so many assets out there that are orphaned, and I feel very passionately about it. Like I said, I love discovering things that nobody's even aware of.
Yeah.
It's not the easiest job to do because you need to actually say, this is a problem.
Yeah.
But I've always been known to find the most challenging stuff. And I take pleasure in that. I mean, if I really find a solution for that, I think that would be one of those. For the next 2-3 years, I honestly believe once we get our footing with the new administration and what's going on, we will all come up with some creative solutions because that's what needs to happen. We're not going to pack up and go where,
we can go to Mars soon.
Well, right? I suppose, but we're not all we can't even go to Canada anymore. So that's not going to work. Maybe I'll move to Fiji, but that's for retirement.
Right. Yeah.
So definitely finding different solutions. But like I said, also the new technology coming on board, maybe this will actually spur that technology up because AI is also speeding everything so much faster. So if someone had a pipeline of or timeline of 5 years, maybe it'll pull back to 2 years. And I will definitely be there to observe, adapt, and adjust, and maybe start getting involved in different capacities.
Yeah, that's really critical. I mean, there are lots of new emerging markets too, and new sectors that are coming our way. And so how do you plan to tap into those? And how do you see, I mean, you touched on that, but how do you see the world evolving? Because I really believe we now have to think in terms of a global economy. It's not just a localized economy. Everything is linked. And I can imagine some sectors, maybe some continent countries will embrace those new technologies a lot faster than we do. Maybe it's because we are more nimble, more flexible, they are smaller. But solar will be playing a big role globally.
Solar and again, the new other energy generating technologies are going to be definitely very important because this need for energy is only going to grow. If
Yeah,
not, everybody's, first of all, the number of people are increasing, right?
yeah.
Secondly, the world is getting richer.
Mhm.
Everybody's
Yeah,
crying bloody murder about economy, but look at 100 years ago and look at
yeah,
where we are,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And when China has money, because there's so many of them, the spending is so huge,
Yeah,
all of a sudden the need for energy is going to just exponentially grow.
yeah.
And energy is one of those things, it's not easy to just plug something. You can't create a nuclear power tomorrow or build new transmission lines tomorrow. So solar and again, some of the technologies that I can't discuss today, which is not necessarily solar, they actually have a much faster deployment process, and they're
Mm.
independent of these other types of transmission lines. And I actually honestly believe that um, local on-site generation is going to be huge.
Mm.
Imagine you have a business of 100,000 square foot of space or 200,000 square foot of space. I introduce you in generation technology that's only the footprint of like 2 or 3 vending machines you put on site, and that feeds everything you need in your building. Do you
Wow.
care what happens to Southern California Edison? Do you
Wow.
care what happens to
Yeah,
the rebates or grants or
yeah,
is taking the tax credit? You don't care.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
self-sufficient.
That's what I
So,
love. And there's
yeah.
a trend there, not only for businesses, but also for private private companies, from people. There's a trend also in the housing market. And a lot of people now, I mean, look at the tiny house trend. It's
Yeah.
incredible. You see so many places, so many tiny homes are being built, and people wanting to be off grid and they have their own solar system. So that's also a trend.
And also going to global, it's so much easier to adapt. And I think one of my favorite examples is I traveled in India 20 years ago. And India is one of those countries at the time, it was still, developing, and there was a lot of backwardness and there are a lot of great things, but they totally skipped a few technologies and they went directly from nothing to cell phones.
Yeah,
They didn't have to do landlines because by
yeah,
then the cell phone technology was so much
true.
easier for them to adapt. And even like I love remembering like seeing the monks and the sadhus like having little cell phones,
Yeah,
those flip phones, and they're like in their
that's
little
right. That's right.
wraps and stuff. So I think that's what's going to happen globally too. They're going to skip a few steps, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden they're going to have these little generators plugged in. So I think in the next 5 to 10 years, energy industry is going to be just going through some amazing changes, and it's going to
I
be fun to watch it.
I
It's
agree. I
going to
totally
come
agree.
from crisis and necessity.
Well, it will, and then
Yeah.
that's exactly where we're headed. So Gaye, for other business leaders and entrepreneurs out there, what's the one piece of advice you would share with them?
Honestly, it's persistence. You have to persevere. You can't lose your heart. If you mean to do it, there's a way to do it. I mean, these are all very cliche.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a
But
will,
true.
there's a way, blah, blah, blah. But if you really look into it deeply, it is true because I have this innate ability to launch businesses in the worst of times. When we started our solar business, we had this whole marketing material, and I can actually leave it to the end if you want me to share the story, but
Yeah.
um, we had all these marketing materials done, and I had this like I had marketing background, so I had all my marketing plans done. Literally, we sent the first mailers out, and Lehman Brothers collapsed.
Oh my God.
3 days into it, we put
Wow.
all our wealth into that. We had a little bit of savings, and that's what we put into. And I
Wow.
remember sitting in the office, I sat on the floor looking at stacks and stacks of direct mail because nobody was doing direct mail. So
Yeah.
I felt very smart. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
nobody's getting direct mail, so this is going to be the only one. But they don't have money now. Everybody lost their money. So
Wow.
you had to pivot. And we didn't have the luxury to say, Oh, I guess that's it. We're just gonna go home. You couldn't even look for a job because there was recession. There were
I,
no jobs to be had.
I,
All my friends from Cornell, MBA friends having those cushy jobs, they were getting laid off right and left. So there was only like one way, and that was up. And
yeah,
that comes from persistence. You
yeah.
can't lose heart. You gotta just keep going. Keep going.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I say. I mean, we always have a choice, but I don't want to go backwards. And I don't want to stay idle. I want to keep moving. And in life, that's a decision. That's a decision you make. And when you make that decision, I really believe that the universe is bringing you what you need to keep moving forward.
That's very true. And I think you have to accept that this is just not an easy road.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship is not easy, and it's
No,
not for everybody, honestly, because
no.
you do have to have a very thick skin, which I had to develop over time. I
Yeah.
didn't have one. I just had the drive. I
Yeah.
had a lot of drive. The
Yeah.
skin took me a long time. Now I got it, but
It's a process,
for
isn't
sure
it?
hard. Yeah, it was there were some
Yeah.
rough times where I started questioning my sanity, like why am I still in it? But there's this voice in you that's
Yeah.
like, because this is your lane. Go honor
I,
your lane.
I really believe that it is innate. I think when it's in you, and you just have to awaken it once in a while. But I know for me, this has always been like that. I went through a lot of challenges in my life, and I was down many times, but I don't stay down very long because there's something in me that just does not allow me to stay down very long. It's just what is. Keep moving, take chances. And at the end of the world, at the end of things, life is short. It really is very short. So why be scared of taking risks? Take some risks. Go for it.
Take some risk and also ask good questions.
Yeah.
Questions matter because if you ask yourself, oh my God, why did this happen?
Yeah.
That's not a very empowering question, is it? Because
Yeah.
you're not going to have the answer because
That's
honestly, stuff happens. But if you ask the question of, okay, what's the opportunity here? What can I create out of this? How am I getting out of this? How am I creating value? What is the other way of doing this?
Yeah.
Can I pivot this way?
Yeah.
Should I just completely stop energy and start selling gums? I don't know, but something, just get in that creative space because if you allow yourself to go spiral down, that's very hard to get back up. It's like being down for a minute. We all have to honor it as well.
Yeah.
Like you said, you fall, you realize I fell and it hurt, and now let's get back up.
Let's get back up. There's always lessons that will be beneficial to have gone through in life. It always helps. Obstacles are here to help us grow, and eventually they are generating incredible things that are very positive. So thank you. This was wonderful to speak about your industry, your company, some of your background. And I always ask my guests at the end of the podcast to share a story of resilience. You just did, but maybe you can share something else. Maybe that's more personal, something that you had to overcome that really has made you who you are right now, and that has opened doors, and something that would be inspirational for my audience. What would that be, Gaye?
I actually want to, because I shared the business story already, I actually want to share something that's very recent to me and that's been extremely empowering to me. And it's been transformational. I lost 85 pounds over the last 3 years.
Wow.
And I started it during the pandemic, which is counterintuitive because I think everybody put weight on.
Yeah.
The one around me who actually lost some weight.
Yeah.
But that was a need that I had. I had to just feel better because my kids were younger and I just didn't want them to have this memory of me being physically very heavy, which creates internal heaviness too. I'm not fat shaming anyone. For me, it was internal, external. I was heavy every way. But so I just became very creative. I started, of course, to build the standard garage gym. I got a TV. I got Jillian Michaels' weight loss program and put it on there. And I started working out. It was very hard at the beginning. And then it started getting easier. I completely changed the way I ate. And then it just shed so many other things. It shed a emotional weight. It shed everything. And I think I just claimed my power back as a person, as a mom. And that made such a big difference in my life in many ways. And it's durable. It was a long road. There was no easy shortcut to it. I had to change my life. And to this day, I don't remember the last time I had a burger. And I'm not saying don't eat burgers. I'm going to do whatever you want. But It
Yes.
wasn't serving me. So I stopped, but it wasn't easy. It was pretty difficult, but
Oh no,
I'm
I can imagine. Something like that is very hard. It takes a lot of willpower. And then it's consistency. It's right because you have to be consistent with the new lifestyle. It's a new lifestyle that you have to embrace, and changing everything is a hard thing to do.
It is, but I think you're very right about consistency because consistency creates discipline and discipline sets you free.
Yeah,
You start doing it, it becomes an everyday thing. It's
yeah,
almost like if I don't work out, I don't feel not okay
yeah,
because I have so much energy now. And that was one of the starting points because I just had no energy for anything.
yeah.
I didn't have the brain power, I didn't have the mental power, I didn't have the body power. And then once you started claiming all that, all of a sudden all the energy comes and the creativity comes with it. And
Yeah.
I think that was one of the most amazing journeys, profound journeys I've been to. It's
Yeah.
not just about the weight, it's just everything, which also sets a great example for my children too,
Of
because they
course,
need
that's important.
information. Yeah.
That is very true. And like you said, this is an incredible story. Thank you for sharing. And it's just a confirmation that anything is possible. You just
Mhm.
have to set your mind to, and anything is possible. And what is critical that you have demonstrated is to not to give up. You can't give up.
No, I think that's the thing. And I think honestly, Catherine, it's just accepting the fact that the road could be difficult.
Yeah.
Everybody wants the easy road. Shortcuts don't lead to any sustainable great results. You don't see the view from the peak when
Yeah.
you're hiking on a straight flat road,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have to
Love
climb
that.
it. And sometimes it's a great climb, sometimes it's very difficult. You need an oxygen mask. I did get a lot of support. I learned to ask for support. And like you said, when you ask, universe delivers. I've met with amazing people, coaches and other people who guided me through this as well. And yeah, and then when you get up there, you're like, this was so worth it.
Yeah, I know. That's a beautiful story. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for talking about what you do with Ardent. This is really important. I encourage anybody who is in the solar world to connect with Gail and talk about how her and her company can really assist in streamlining and achieving net zero and simplifying the process so that they can focus on their own on their business, and they can optimize, also reduce a lot of costs that are hidden costs that may need to be uncovered, because nowadays every dime counts. And also I think it's going to be important to have someone like her to look at the future and plan ahead so that there are solutions that you can be implementing right now, and also know what to expect and how to react to obstacles that will eventually come your way. But with a plan, there's always a way to react and to do it the right way, and to be able to pivot as needed. So I encourage everyone to connect with Gaye and to talk about what you're doing, and then share this story on all of your networks. Thank you so much, Gaye. It was so great to have you with us today.
Thanks, Catherine. I appreciate the opportunity. This was a pleasure.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, again, thank you everyone for watching. I encourage you to spread the good, let people know about what's happening in the world, because we're here as one. Remember, we are here as one to work together to make this world a better place. And it is with interconnectivity, with a collaborative effort, that this will be possible. So I thank you again for watching, for sharing, and for subscribing to this channel. And we will see you next time.